because again, I'm the brand. No one
Yeah.
can replicate this New York accent.
Yeah.
You know, so can replicate me. No one
That's true.
can replicate what I am, and I am my brand. As much as people are like, oh, your brand is, your colors, your brand is. And I'm not. I'm the brand. No one can replicate me.
Welcome to Subscriptions for Authors. Meet your co hosts, Michael Evans, sci fi thriller author of a dozen novels, and Amelia Rose, a semi romance author that makes six figures per year in subscriptions. Together, we will help you make more money with subscriptions and succeed in the future of publishing.
Today, we have an unbelievably special guest, Tanya Kappas, who is the most successful cozy mystery authors and subscriptions in the world. In fact, she's one of the most successful subscription authors, period, but is by far the most successful cozy mystery author. And what you're about to hear, this interview, is so inspiring because the one thing that I love, well, I love many things about you, Tanya. So this is only one of those things, but is her passion. She is so passionate for her readers, and that shines through. And we get to see how she's been able to create this awesome space for them to come together in her subscription on Patreon. And this community that she's formed, she's doing incredible things. Like if you're driving, try to really not take out your phone while driving and jot down notes because she's going to give you a lot of different ideas about how to interact with your community. I think Tanya and Christopher Hopper, which if y'all haven't met Christopher Hopper, if y'all haven't seen what he's doing, they are kindred spirits. Are very kindred spirits. Christopher Hopper in science fiction, Tanya with cozy mysteries, and it's just incredible to see the arc of Tanya's career. I mean, we're talking almost 200 books published at this point. Probably by the time this is released, there'll be another book out, and if you're listening to this in the future, she'll probably have 200 books published. She's a cozy mystery author, really focuses a lot on Southern cozy mysteries, does some paranormal, which I love being from Charleston, a very paranormal city. And I also go to Savannah a lot because it's not far. And I just feel like those are two very Southern, cozy paranormal cities. So I'm a big fan. But what I'm even more amazed by is what she's done with her subscription. She talked about why she started it, which was similar, that's right around the time of the pandemic, how it's grown over the last 3+ years now, and all the different tiers that she now has sets up, all the different things she's doing for her community. It's incredible. It's like, oh, my boy. And I just want to give you all one word of advice going into this podcast, which is Tanya has so many amazing things going on that like I feel like 5 of the average author subscriptions are combined in her one subscription. So if you're listening to her and thinking, I need to do exactly what she's doing, you don't have to do all of it. And definitely not on day one. And she offers this advice in the end. So if you want Tanya's advice on actually how to start your subscription, you gotta wait to the end because she gives some incredible, unbelievable advice and some things she's learned from and some things she would do differently and more importantly what she would do if she was in your shoes. But with that said, this is one of the best talks on community building I've ever heard, and the advice and insight she shares, everything she's doing is just incredible. It's incredible. I'm still kind of like mind blown. So I hope you enjoy it. If y'all aren't part of our community yet, then you should join. We have a Facebook group. It's called Subscriptions for Authors. It's an amazing place to be. We'd love to have you a part of it. And also, if you want to hear more from Tanya, she's actually speaking. She's a keynote speaker at the Subscriptions for Authors Summit, which you can find the link to the virtual summit and also the in-person summit. Tanya will actually be at our in-person summit, but if you can't make it, then you can attend virtually. That'll be down below. It's happening in May in Boston or virtually in May, wherever you want to be. And it's going to be amazing. And she's going to be diving deep into her subscription journey, sharing the behind the scenes, and ultimately sharing advice to help you all grow your subscription community. So I'm excited for it. In the meantime, let's get into this podcast. This one's going to be amazing.
Add sparkle to any design with glitter stickers by Sticker Mule. Glitter stickers are a fun way.
Tanya, I'm so excited to have you here today. I've been a fan of you for a very long time. I know Amelia met you, I think in March. You all were at the mastermind together in
We were,
Texas.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's
And
so
she,
lovely.
and she was saying how lovely you were. And she was like, Tanya's got this amazing Patreon. And I'm like, really? So I checked it out. And I've just been kind of following you, watching what you're doing. and so impressed. And I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. But before we actually talk about, what you're doing on your Patreon, how you've come to, I think, having a really unique and amazing experience that you're giving your readers. I want to talk about how you even got to starting a subscription in the first place. I know you're definitely been around the block quite a few times as an
Um,
author.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here, and I love the space that you've created for authors. And really, if you think back to like Kindle Unlimited, I've been publishing since before Kindle Unlimited. That's a subscription, right? And so back before the pandemic, I had a thriving Facebook group, and the pandemic hit, and I was building a house. The house building stopped. My sister's a nurse practitioner in the medical field, and she said, "This is going to be a while." And we had moved into an apartment because we had sold our house so quickly. And so she's like, "You're empty nest, we're empty nest. You should just move in with us. It's going to be a while." And I'm like, "Oh, it can't be that long." But as a neurologist, she's like, "Oh, it's going to be a while." So she could foresee that. So I ended up moving in with her, and the Facebook community was just people were at home. I was doing book boxes before the pandemic, and I had a thriving book box business, and it people were losing their jobs. And I said, "Do you guys want to, hold your subscription, give your money back? Do you, some people were like, "Oh, I still want the box, but we don't know how this is spread." And so they were worried that I could spread the virus if I had it through the boxes. It was a whole thing. But you have to know my demographic is also older because I am in cozy mystery. So I have a lot of older readers, right? Before the pandemic. So what happened was that the book boxes I said, "Well, we're all going to stop it. I'm giving all the money back, no sweat off my back, right? I just want everybody to be happy in community." So I started up this thing on Facebook thinking my sister was like, "Oh, this is going to be 3 months long." So I'm living with my sister. Our house build has stopped. My son has moved home from college. Her daughter moved home from college. And her daughter was on this thing called Patreon she was following a musician. And so these young college kids started following their favorite musicians, how these people were making a living now that they weren't doing their gigs. And so I was living with them and I'm watching them and I'm like, "What is that?" And she's like, "Oh, it's, Patreon. It's really cool for creators." And I'm like, "Well, I'm a creator." But then, and I just kind of started looking at it. But what I was doing in my Facebook author page outside of my group was I was doing a thing called, well, it started out as 30 days of community because I think, well, in 30 days, we're going to be out of this, right? Well, every day I posted something, and it had to be where they had to comment back to three other people. So we felt like we were in community. And those posts grew to thousands of people answering these one posts a day. So then I'm like, okay, the pandemic went on for another month. So we extended it. And then we extended it for another. So we did 90 days of community. And then I thought, okay, I go live all the time. But so what I started doing was called something called Bedtime Stories with Tanya. So I started reading. I started going through all my books, reading one chapter a night. I would just go there, like, "Okay, let's read this chapter tonight." And I started
I
reading.
love that.
And
Yeah.
so they were just craving community so much. And some of them were like, "Oh, I couldn't get on Facebook, or Facebook wasn't showing you to me." And I'm like, "Well, I don't like that." So then I kind of started digging into this Patreon that my niece was on. And I thought, well, I can do this. They can join for $1 and, we'll give it to charity. So I made like, okay, what else can I do? So I was on TikTok and I'm like, oh, who can I look at to see that might have a Patreon? So I had found Willow Winters, who I don't know her at all. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to look at her Patreon. So I joined her Patreon and I'm like, oh, well, I don't write this kind of stuff at all. There's barely like an eye roll at each other for a love interest in my books because I write cozy mysteries. But I could definitely see me doing something like this with my readers. But again, you have to take into consideration a lot of my readers were at that time, between 50 and 80 or 50 to death, to the grave.
Yeah.
And so a lot
Yeah.
of fixed income. So I thought, well, how am I going to do this to where I can have a community off Facebook? So I did a dollar tier and I did a $5 tier. And then I did the $25 tier. And I wasn't sure what they would want, right? So I thought, well, we'll do a Zoom a month because that's over there. But also, I want to make sure we're giving at this time, right? People needed
Yeah.
things. So on the Patreon, when I make a call out or they'll message me, they're able to request. I keep a long list of requests, and thankfully, we've hit a lot of these have been able to give to 2 charities a month. So much of the money
So
that they put on towards their Patreon goes towards a charity, and they get to pick the charity. And I donate the money to the charity in their name, so they will sometimes get the thing that says it, or if it makes it me do my name, I could do a memo and says in honor of this Patreon.
I love that.
Whatever. And so we've been able to give back thousands of dollars over the past 3 years since we've had our Patreon. So it just started becoming more of a community. It became something to where for like the dollar tier, that everybody's invited to the Zoom. It doesn't matter what tier you're on. Come to the monthly Zoom. So we started a book club. So we do a book club in a Zoom. Sometimes we just do like a party where I can do online bingo. I've got prizes that I mail out to them. We have a Halloween party every month. We all dress up and we come and we play Halloween games. And then I make this fun magazine that they can download. We
Okay.
also do something called Friendsgiving. And so they make a dish and we have Friendsgiving. Here we are, hundreds of us in this Zoom eating the thing. And we go around and we say something we're thankful for. It takes a couple hours, but we all.
Oh my God, here we go. Kimberly calculated from the beginning, how do I be?
All hang in there, and we all turn in our recipes. So every year I make a recipe book just of our recipes that we send in then.
Wow.
But what I have also discovered is that during that time of the pandemic,
Yeah.
their daughters also were home or their adult children had started moving in. And
Yeah.
they're like, what is mom doing? Or what's going on? Or what books? And so my demographic started getting younger and younger. So as it got younger and
Gotcha.
younger, I saw younger and younger people join the group. So
Wow.
throughout the past 3 years, what's happened is that we have been through divorces together, anxiety of these young girls, deaths of husbands and loved ones.
Yeah.
We've met. Every year I have put on for the past 9 years an in-person event where I rent a train somewhere in the United States for my readers for a weekend.
Okay.
And we do things like a ghost walk and we have so much fun. And so they have come and have met in person to these events now. And they've brought their daughters and sometimes they bring their son-in-laws because they've gotten to know me on these Zooms. But we have celebrated marriages. We do a sock exchange every year, which is coming up this weekend. What we do is we do it through Elfster. So we don't know who we have, but when I got my package in the mail, I know that that's from my sock exchange. So I'm not opening it up until we have our Zoom on Sunday. And that's how we do it. We've just done a whole lot of things. And so I have everybody's birthday. So they get a birthday. I kind of pull it like different birthday cards. Each one, my husband, he has been able to retire from his job for 35 years. And
Right.
he's part of it. So they all know him. He's in it. My cat, they love her. So they
Aw.
signs the cards. He signs the cards. Everything we do, like what it's become is just community. And in that, they all read my books, but also it has grown. So I always think to myself, what else can I give them? So it grew from just those tiers to then, things I send them. So I send them like, stickers, they get brochures. This is a Happy Trails. This is one of my series. And so it's just like when you go camping, brochure of the campground and like all
Beautiful.
the particulars. And it's so silly. Like it says contact details, just holler, we'll hear you. It's open for
Aw.
open it up. It's a way they can track some of
Oh, and then those are all your books, or maybe not all. Those are a lot of them.
in
Okay,
this
one series. Okay, I'm like,
and
yeah, all of your books would be like multiple pages.
And so I thought, oh, what else can I do for them outside of
Yeah.
just the extra content? So just like romance, they have like these really fun epilogues, or they have some extra content to sign up for their newsletters. Well, that's not really super popular in cozy mystery. So I don't write romance, but boy, do we have that subplot of a romance, right? And they might touch each other. That's the romance in a cozy mystery. So I have a lot of fun creating extra content from the male perspective on a date that he takes my sleuth on. We also have Valentine's month where each one of my sleuths boyfriend or husband or whatever it is writes a Valentine love letter and all those kind of things as well. I send out Christmas cards. We celebrate everybody's birthday no matter
Oh
what
my god.
and so everybody gets a birthday post. Everybody gets a
Amazing.
business card and all the things. But what I've noticed is it's not just about the cozy mystery genre as a brand. I'm the brand. I'm the person. And I think if you would ask anybody what their most favorite part of it is they love all the goodies and things like that, but they love the community of the Zoom. And they love the fact that I am just me. A lot of them, when they meet me in person, are like, "Oh my God, you're exactly like you are on Zoom." And I'm like, well, "Yeah, did you think I'm the exact same?" And they recognize, they feel like family. They feel like family. One of my Patreons, she you know, is so dear to me because she worked in a hospital where I'm from, and where my parents live 2 hours away. And my father had gotten COVID during COVID, and he had a COVID heart attack, and then 8 hours later had a stroke. And so I knew that he was in the hospital where she was, and I had no idea what she did in the hospital. I never met her. And I messaged her on Patreon. I said, listen, is there any way that you can tell me about this unit that he's in? She's like, oh, if you want to give me your phone number, I'll do better than that. I'll go in there and I'll FaceTime you with them because you couldn't go in and see him.
Uh,
So, I mean, she went above and beyond. She FaceTimed with me. She took him, she would clean out his little hearing aids. And she
oh,
my mom every night.
yeah.
She didn't even work on that floor, but she would go in, she'd put his little teeth in. And
Mhm.
so over the past 2 years, we had been on an up and down roller coaster with him. And she has
Right.
the family things. We love her to death. And since then, my
Wow.
father has passed the past couple of
Ah,
months. And it was
I'm
devastating.
sorry.
But the
Yeah.
point is that, you just never know who you're going to meet in these communities.
Eh,
So I'm like, how can I continue to give back to my community and some special people like that? So that's when I decided to write. Back when Bella started, Amazon had contacted me and said, oh, would you be interested in doing these daily serials or these serial fiction? And I
uh,
said, yeah, that would be great because I had already started thinking about doing serial fiction for my Patreon group and
Yeah.
thinking, oh, this is for them first, right? So
Right.
then Amazon's like, oh, well, you can't do it just outside of, Bella. And I'm like, oh, well, then I can't. I'm not going to do it. There's no way. And then they came back like 3 weeks later, said, okay, well, you can put it on like Wattpad or Patreon and Bella, but you have to keep it in Bella for 30 days before you can,
Okay.
publish it. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. So it was like the early days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So I write so it was a spinoff from my most popular series. And so they get the daily serial in those books. And then they're also on Bella as well. But they get it before everybody else. So they get, all the books and all the audio. They get all the audio recorded.
Amazing.
And currently they're getting all the exclusive on what's happening with the movie and what's happening with, like, they'll get clips of all the producer Zooms. I'm allowed to do those. And
I
so,
saw that. That's so cool.
yeah, they
That's
just
so cool.
love, but right off the bat, I said, I am very, to them, to the producers, I'm very close with my readers, my Patreon group. And I feel like I would do a disservice if I can't share this journey with them as I'm
Mm,
going through it with my excitement.
yeah.
And, it never, I mean, well, I don't know if it'll ever come to film, but it's pretty close. But so they were like, yeah, we're all in. And so,
That's so
they
cool.
loved it. And they love that I'm that close with my readers. So really for me, it all started all because of the pandemic to just create the community that's been growing and growing. And I think, like I said, if you were to ask them what they love most, it's probably just the Zoom calls, the community of it.
Yeah. Wow. That is so inspiring and insightful. And I have like a million ideas coming out of it. Like the birthday cards is amazing. Having the Thanksgiving recipe book, I am still like, that is amazing. So cool. And I'm imagining like the hundreds of people with like their food and what they're saying, what they're thankful for. I mean, what a cool moment. You're doing something really, you say giving back. I can tell this is what you're passionate about.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
And it's so cool because, you know, book wise, you're most of your books seem to be in KU. You're wide with audio. You've published well over 100 books. I don't want to intimidate people listening, but like,
I have four adult male children, and they range from 25 to 30. I feel like you could be one of them. They have a countdown to 200. They're like, we have a countdown to 200. We're gonna have a party. I'm like,
it's it's amazing. And what I'm curious about is like, you know, people will listen to this. They'll look at you, look at everything you've accomplished. They'll be like, wow, okay, how can I be like Tonya, right? And you know, you obviously have a huge publishing business to run. Like it is a lot that goes into just managing a backlist because
yeah,
you probably have easily, I mean, well over 500 individual products when you count the different formats.
right.
How how do you find the time to do all of this with your community? I know it seems like an odd question, but when I go to your Patreon, you're posting on average,
Oh, it's
I would
daily.
say 20 times a week. Like you're posting multiple times a day.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
How do you keep up with that and the rest of everything you're doing?
So, first off, I'm super lucky, like I said, that my husband is on board and
Yeah.
so he takes care of now. He's only been on board for a year, but
Okay.
before, and I only have one assistant, but she's just an assistant that only that does with my art team. That's it. So the rest of their stuff is I don't have anybody that does the social media, and I don't have anybody that does Patreon because again, I'm the brand. No one
Yeah.
can replicate this New York accent. You know, so can replicate me. No one
That's
can
true.
replicate what I am, and I am my brand. As much as people are like, oh, your brand is, your colors, your brand is. And I'm not. I'm the brand. No one can replicate me. So I make sure I get up in the morning. I'm a meditator. I,
I love meditation.
yeah, I meditate, I journal, I do all the things, and I exercise in the morning. And I am at, sometimes I will sprint with a friend of mine that has to work during the day at a day job, away from the office. She's in an office job as well. So she only has an hour. So I'm like, yeah, I'll sprint with you at 7 a.m. And so I'll do writing sprints with her. And then at 9:30, I'm at my desk and I run it like a business. As soon as you hit publish, it's a business.
Yeah.
And so I've always run it like a business. As a past therapist for children, and also I was a teacher by trade when I graduated from the first time from college. And then I had four boys to raise. That's a lot of schedules.
A lot.
And I became a full time author. I just continued to run it like that. I continued to keep my schedule. When my kids went off to college, when they now have graduated and have their life and moved out empty nest, I continue to run my life like that because I'm still working, as if I would be working at an office job. So I get dressed in the morning like I'm going to an office job. I don't put on my pajamas. And then I sit down and I write from 9:30 to 12 and or 12:30, and then I'll have lunch and maybe meditate in the afternoon or do some other kind of quick walk. We live in the middle of the woods, so I will stroll the woods or
Yeah.
whatever to change over to the business side. So
Yeah.
I keep a meticulous schedule for Patreon. Some things I will schedule, you know, out. And a lot of things I will post, or like before I got on here with you, I did a quick video and put it up there. Also, I
Yeah.
think I go live on there as well. You have the option to be live with them, and I love that. Um, so I do that a lot and I schedule that out. So maybe, on Sunday night, when my husband's, watching MASH, he loves the show MASH. He watches it every night. So maybe when he's doing that, then I will jump on Patreon and interact, or I will maybe schedule a post out. But they get so much information. They get story notes, they get deleted scenes, they get illustrated photos of my couple, they get storyboards that are illustrated. They get, they want all the things. They get their own detective file. So as they're reading the books, they can, share with who they think is, the
Oh,
suspects.
yeah, yeah.
So it's very interactive. We're a very interactive community over there. And, I'll say it's not for everybody. It's really for the super fans that don't just want to have access to me, which is what they get. This is where you get access to me, and the Facebook and all that, you really don't get the direct access. So this is where they get the direct access and the true Tanya vibe. And oh my gosh, where did you come up with that idea? And I'm like, oh, it's like this. Or if I'm walking and I also will dictate. So they get dictations. That like
That's so cool.
thanks. So they just get that. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what I dictated today. What do y'all think? Or if my husband's walking and I'm trying to work out a plot and he's an electrician. He doesn't know anything about killing the people. But I'm like, what about this? And so I'll like get his take on it and then I'll upload it. And they think that's hilarious because we're like, that is not going to work. But it's still listening to him do it. So, they're getting all those insider things that they love. And, they've seen my mama, they've met my mama, they've met
Oh,
my sister, and they just, think it's just the best. So the time I make time for it because I'm passionate about it, as you can
yeah. You
tell.
love it.
So with that, I make time for. And really, it's not that much time, to get on
Yeah.
there and talk for 10 or 15 minutes. And I can do it while I'm cooking. I can do it while I'm cleaning. I've done it while I put up my Christmas tree with them. I'm like, because it's just me and my husband. I'm like, oh, let's put the Christmas tree and chat about books. It's just, it's that. Now, what I do with my other active platforms, like you talked about, like we talked about Bella, that's another
Yeah.
subscription that I'm involved in, right?
Yeah.
And then, so all the other stuff is pretty easily scheduled, like all the social media stuff. So really, Patreon to me is my live active moments that I have in the afternoon, and I always make time for it every day.
Wow. Oh, that's so, you know, it's the dedication's amazing. And I love like just that you're doing what what you love to do. And you mentioned something very interesting about that it's not for all your fans, it's for the super fans, the people who want you. I'm curious, how have you when you initially, because you were also talking about your readership, it's gotten a little bit younger, but it also skews, a bit 50 plus. And there's a lot of people in that demographic might not be as familiar with something like a Patreon, right?
Yeah.
The idea of a subscription. I mean, we all subscribe to things like KU, but that's different,
Right. But
How
that's
was that
so cool.
response?
So yeah, so that's how I was like, well, you look at it like this, like you're subscribed to KU, right? Because so it's kind of like that. It's a monthly thing, like when people ask, and so that's why I made that dollar tier.
Yeah.
And that I'm getting a fee taken. I'm not even getting a full dollar to give to a
Yeah.
charity from them, and that's
Yeah.
okay because I made the people are like, why would you do a dollar tier? I'm because I just want them to feel like they're part of the community. They can do the Zooms, they can do the book clubs. They're still getting some content. They're still getting the free stickers when they join, which they love. You
Oh, I
know,
bet.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they're not getting the mug and they're not getting those
Sure.
kind of things. But I tell you another thing I do that they know that and I also give out a $5 gift card to everybody that comes to Zoom because I feel like if they're giving me their time,
Yeah.
then I have that money set aside, on Patreon as well. That when they come, even the $1 people, they are like, you don't need to give us a gift card. I'm like, no, your time is valuable to me. I'm impressed that you're even here for an hour to talk about books or 2 hours. They tend to, I say they're going to be an hour long, but they always tend to be like 2 hours long. And they
Wow.
want more. They're like, can we do like 2 or 3 a month? And I'm like, well, I wish.
Yeah. Only.
So,
Yeah.
so when I talk to I get a lot of older readers says, well, I don't even know how to do this. How do I, get on here?
Yeah.
And I've had some daughters that buy the subscription for their moms.
Oh, yeah, that's so
I
yeah.
have a couple of men, and a few men on there, which is fun. And I'll always call them out. I'm like, what are you doing, Leonard?
Ah,
Just tease with them. And so I have a couple of, subscriptions that were purchased for, their from their daughters. And so they've been able to contact me and say, this is, for my mom. I've got her set up. This is great. So, but I have walked a lot of readers through how to do it and how to get on Zoom,
yeah.
and how to download Zoom and how to get on there. And so I have one reader and she's bedridden and she has a home health nurse that gets her ready every time before Zoom. So she's
Uh,
right there
yeah.
and ready. And I'm always so happy to see her on there. But it's just taking the time to treat each person as an individual. And when you say their name, like I say, hey Michael or hey Lynn, they're like, oh my gosh,
She cares about me.
it
Yeah.
just, yeah, and I do care about them,
Yeah.
and so when I walk them through it, I want them to know if you're going to join, I let them know if you want to join, come over, hang out, send me a message. If you want to understand it, I'm more than happy to jump on one of those book call things, or they can call without my phone number to chat about how to get on there. I'm more than happy for them to give me their phone number and call them and say, hey, this is what happens. Sometimes they might actually send a message and you have the ability to do the voice message back. That freaks them out. They're like, is this really you? And I'm like, because I'll send a voice message and say, hey, it's easier for me to respond to you instead of type it all out. And let me tell you about it
Yeah. Yeah.
fast. And this is how you can do it. And then they're like, oh my gosh, is this really, you responding? I'm like, well, yeah. It's definitely not AI unless I can get my voice down. That'd be great. So it's just, holding
Your favorite sliders are back at Frisch's. Try 2 classic sliders loaded with caramelized onions, American
in their hand and letting them know this isn't as hard as it looks like. It's just baby steps. And that's how I've gotten my older population to join. And if I can't figure it out, I'll find a way to figure it out, to help them out. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's how I got some of the older people to join and to feel part of the community at that dollar. And now they have the whole free thing. See, back then they didn't have the free thing.
Yeah.
So, so now if they want to come over and look around, then they can get a hint, which when the free thing did come up this year, my increase after they were free for a while, the readership, I think within the first week grew to over 100 more subscribers that were paying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's been nice.
Yeah. That's incredible. And first of all, I can't wait for you to meet Christopher Hopper. You're going to love him. He's another speaker at the summit. And
Oh,
yeah, you guys are very, like, in a great way, very similar. You're going to get along really, really well. I just know it. Like, we'll have to make sure you have a chat with him, whether it's a meal or, yeah, you have to. And, the one thing I'm thinking about in this, and I've had personal experience with things like this as well, but I'm curious, like, you're so open with your readers, even giving out like your phone number, which this is totally a Christopher Hopper thing, which is why I say this, like, in the
oh,
best way. Like, he would do that. Like, he would, you know what I mean? Like that, like anything for his readers,
yeah.
anything. It's the best. Where do you draw a line? Especially because people obviously like fangirl, fanboy, however we want to word it, they look up to you. How do you kind of keep those relationships? Like, you're friends with your readers, but you're not best friends or family with everyone in your
Right.
Patreon, right? Like, there is somewhat of a line. How do you balance / manage that when you are someone who enjoys being so open?
Yes. So there was only one time that really kind of crossed the line, and I had to address that. And, I am so open. For instance, I always, where I live literally is in the middle of the woods overlooking the Ohio River. And I always say, oh, we have a music venue right across the way that is an open amphitheater in Cincinnati. So I'm like right
Right.
over from Cincinnati, but not downtown Cincinnati, but more over where this music venue is. And I'm like, oh, Dave Matthews is here tonight at, Riverbend. And so, I'm like, oh, I live right across the river. It's great. And I'll go live and they can hear the music because you can hear all the people. One day we're sitting here and this car pulls up and I have like a car. I have driveway alarms because I have such a long, steep driveway. I'm like, who's coming up? But we also have a lot of animals that put off the alarm. So I'm like, oh, is it really somebody? And we have cameras. So and this car pulls up. I'm like, who is that? And it was my cousin from my hometown in Lexington, which is 2 hours away. He and his wife were like, oh, we just started driving up all the driveways until we found you because you said on Facebook, I live across from Riverbend. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But for, and that was kind of a weird thing, but they're always welcome here. We just kind of
Yeah.
houses. But, and then I had a reader like actually take the coordinates of a photo because I had said, oh, what is my husband bringing home from Home Depot? And he was like, oh, according to the coordinates of your photo, it's the Home Depot. He was at the Home Depot in Crescent Springs, Kentucky, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's kind of creepy. So the line with that was on, Facebook. So that was before Patreon came. So I always have had that boundary of
Yeah.
what you're getting in Patreon. This is what you're getting from me in Patreon. This is what you're getting into the tiers. And they've never really stepped over the bounds with
Good.
me because the thousands of super fans that I have in that group, it's so interesting because, when Facebook started, I started and my kids were in elementary school. So they've seen my kids grow up. They've seen my kids do the things, right? So another thing that was very interesting is one of my sons is a NCAA basketball coach for a division.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. And so he's like, Mom, some people showed up at the game and kind of hung around and they're like, oh, I'm a fan of your mom's and I didn't know you were here. And, I'm a graduate, so I came to the game or I've been to a game and some of the readers have showed up that's in Patreon. And it's not that I don't think that's really a boundary that's crossed because I love seeing them. And a few of the professors there like, oh, if you ever come, when you get back to Georgia, let me know because that's where he's at, in Georgia. Let me know. I want to meet up with you. I would love to talk to you. I'm a super fan, and I know your son's coaching here, blah, blah, blah. And so they kind of think it's weird. And so as they grew up, their boundaries got very clear. I stopped posting pictures, when they got into high school and stopped doing things with them. So I had to respect their boundaries. But now, as they've gotten older, they're like, well, Mom, this is kind of cool. Because when they were teenagers, like, this is weird. Take me out there. Don't put me on there. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, but as Patreon has come along, they're paying members that are getting the real good content, obviously. And they respect the boundaries and they're not expecting any more than what I'm giving them. So what I give them is the boundary. So they're not going to get the whole house tour, they're be there in the build. I give them the boundaries and they've never crossed anything like, oh, can I come see you? I give them enough opportunities during the year to meet me in person or to be on Zoom. And, quite frankly, I think that they are satisfied with that. But in the phone calls, they've never called me through that line. I've called them. And so, they've never called me through the line and, it's fine. Or if they needed to talk, they'll say, hey, can we have a chat? And I'm like, sure, or they'll say, oh, like I said, we've been through divorces, we've been through anxiety. Some of the younger girls have been through depression. And so they know that I have kids their age. So they'll say, hey, can we talk? I'm like, sure. And I was a therapist. So I don't, listening to them and talking to them and just, I don't ever give advice or anything.
Sure.
They just sometimes need a sounding ear outside of their own families or their own husbands or, their own children or something. So it's nothing that they demand then. So I'll say, oh yeah, let's talk tomorrow at 2. I've got 15 minutes or something. So I say, and they respect that,
Wow. I love it. It's so, no, it's really cool. And it's really nice to hear that they haven't crossed that line. And I think that's important. Like if you're going to be so open with your readers, to do it in a place that you have a degree of control over.
Yeah.
Putting that up just on Facebook where anyone can see it. I mean, it can introduce some things. So it makes a ton of sense. And I know recently you actually opened up a new tier, right? A book box tier.
It was just this today. So
Yeah.
we knew it was going to go out today, and we had planned it. And the reason why we did that tier is because I had had such a big subscription, like I said before, and book boxes, even before the pandemic, were not very popular. That was another thing. Like, how am I going to get on board with this? So it wasn't just that, but I had also, it was a couple hundred book boxes. That was pretty good income. And also, I had a lot of my girlfriends and that are authors donate, their book.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing for me to do. And that was because I was a subscription for the Brenda Novak book boxes. And I'm like, oh, I don't think anybody's doing this for Cozy. I could do this for Cozy, right? And so that's how I get hers. And so I'm like, I can do this for my readers too. And so and romance authors are the best to get marketing tips from, which is who my go-to are. Just what are romance authors doing, and how can I make that for Cozy? And so I started doing those book boxes back then, and then again, like I said earlier, the pandemic had stopped that. And so now we're at a place to where I only want to do the quarterly book boxes
Yeah.
and readers. So I send quarterly envelopes to my top tier, the $25 tier. And so they also get every single book in print as well if they want it. Some people opt out of it, which I'm like, okay, they just want to be in
Yeah.
that top tier. And so people are like, oh, I wish I had, you were doing the book boxes again, or, we'd be on Zoom. And I keep hearing it over and over for the past, probably 6 or 7 months. And so we're like, okay, we're going to start January. So we put it out today and we limit it because I think when you limit it, not only does it create buzz, but also it helps us get it off the ground and not
Yeah.
overwhelmed, which I don't want to be overwhelmed, with it. Because I actually did open up $100 author tier where I was working with authors, and I got freaked out when I had so many authors sign up. I'm like,
Yeah.
money back, and I gave all their money back, and I didn't open it. And I'm like, I'm not ready for that yet. I'm
Yeah.
not ready to be a teacher and I thought it might be like a handful of people, but it was like 25 people immediately signed up as soon as the email went out. And I mean, it was like within an hour, and I freaked, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do this right now. So I did.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, we're all here when you're ready. I'm like, okay, because they just wanted to do about marketing. It wasn't about, how to do Patreon or anything like that. It was just a marketing tier, which I did previous back in 2014. After I'd been self-publishing for a while, I went around and teaching in writer groups how to self-publish. And I had a book about marketing. So anyways, back to what we're talking about. That's the reason why I had opened that tier. And so today, before I got on here, I looked and I think that there were only 5 spots left at that book box because I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that a lot of people were as interested as they were. So we want to get back into that because I love getting book boxes. And if I love it, I think they're going to love it.
Oh yeah. No, totally. I'm just looking now. You have 4 left. So another person has jumped in during this call already.
Thanks.
Probably by the end of the day, you're gonna have none. If I'm
They're so,
probably.
yeah.
That's amazing. So
I haven't even announced it to the world. It's just to them.
just to,
Yes.
you just posted. That's all. Just that one post on Patreon has done all of this.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty
Oh, yeah,
incredible.
I'm limited to 50, so.
Yeah, but it's still like it's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. That's incredible. And so in the book box, so it's gonna be each quarter.
Yeah.
They're paying $50 a month. What do they get in that? And then how are you handling this is always the question with book boxes, right? How are you handling the shipping for it in terms of like international versus I know you're in the United States. So how are you doing that
So it is
aspect of it?
international as well. So we have our own like little part of our house. We have an unused storage area. Well, it's not unused. It's got all the stuff in it. So my husband is now in charge of not only all the advertising, all the book, all the book matter and all the print books and all those kind of things that we send out. He is also now in charge of all shipping and fulfilling of the 50 book boxes.
Wow, that's a job. That's a
So
job.
we have all the things downstairs. I've been, of course, getting all things, and I haven't looked into like I know Flagship does a lot of things,
Yeah.
so I haven't looked into all that stuff yet. But I have a feeling that we'll grow quicker than this in the next coming months. So I'll have to look and start doing some kind of partnerships or some things like that. And I have been approached by various people, like for doing different things, maybe on Instagram and becoming the sponsors for stuff like that. So this is a way to open up that door, but not on the social media platforms, but to do more of the book box things. And so we also have our own, like, stamps.com here. And the post office will come and they'll pick up all the boxes here at my house. And
Nice.
yeah, so it'll be the exact same way we did. Previous. The back
Yeah.
same setup. I'll have it all. He'll have it all stamp.com. We have boxes already with our logos and things on it. And of course, all the things, the mystery things is what they love. So, we always get special mystery things that they can get, as well as the inaugural one will be, of course, a mug, and different mugs too. And it's not just a Tanya Kappa stuff. Like it's all sorts of different things that they really enjoy to get as a cozy mystery reader. So all those
Yeah.
stuff.
No, you got it. Those
Book.
are the best book boxes.
Yeah.
And it gets me thinking because I know you also are doing a book club, which isn't exclusive to Cozy Mystery Reads, but you do book clubs inside.
We
Uh,
did.
yeah. How is that going? And I was wondering because I'm just thinking like, is there a way to tie in the book clubs with the book boxes? I don't know. Like I'm just thinking out loud right now,
So
but I feel like there's something.
that is something that we have noodled around. And so we did. So what we do is we'll pick a book or they'll suggest a book and we vote on it. So whatever book wins is the book. And I do reach out to the author and I say, hey, we would love to have you, join us. And so if they can, they join us. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I would love to join your Patreon. And so outside of that, a few of the other cozy mystery authors and a couple other authors have started Patreon because they came in my group and they're like, wow, I did not know this is a whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, and so they always ended up having more questions than we had about the book, but it just became a life of its own. So they pick the book, they suggest it, and then I just put up one of those polls in the thing, and whichever
Yeah.
one they pick goes. And I usually come up with a lot of the questions, or I'll say, you have any questions, or what do you think would be a good question? Message me or put it in this comment. Cause a lot of times they don't want to comment, but they want to have an opinion. So, and a lot of people don't want to show their face on Zoom. So I'm like, you don't have to show your face. You don't have to talk, just show up and you can talk just through the camera. You don't have to show your face at all on Zoom. And so we just have all sorts of ways that they can participate. And again, it all boils down to being part of the community and being heard. And wow, they're going to pick my book for a book club. And it just so happens that I also have an Amazon book club. So whatever we pick on book club, I also put on my Amazon book club. So my people that follow me over there, I think I have like 900 members on that. And it's kind of the same question. So they know if they don't come to the Zoom book club, they can pop over to the Amazon book club and see all the questions and kind of participate there. So, we do try to, give things that are free. And, like I said, if you aren't in the Zoom, if you're in the free part of Patreon and want to participate in book club, you can do that on that Amazon book club, but you don't get the Zoom with me and
Sure.
the personal thing there. So we have that. And like I said, the authors love to come. And a lot of times I say, oh, can I send them all something? Like, you don't want to send out 1,000 something. No, just your presence is the best. Just come over. We enjoyed your book. Now we have had one time when we did not enjoy the book. None of us liked the book. We couldn't even finish the book. So we
Oh.
the book club because I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So
Oh, yeah.
having the Zoom, but we just didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And so, other than that, it's everybody has an opinion, and when you put a
Yeah.
lot of people together like that, it's a lot of opinions, but all respectful opinions,
Good.
which I love. Another thing that's been interesting is that I have paranormal cozies and I have straight cozies. So some
Yeah.
of my Patreons will not read paranormal cozies. you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
some people don't want to participate in those book clubs, and that's okay. That's just part of us all living together with all our different, all our differences and being accepted with all our differences. And we love that. So, book club is really fun, but I think, would rather do just a monthly. Hey, how's everybody doing? Let's play some games. We play online bingo.
You do
where
Wordles too, right?
we Wordle.
Yeah, yeah.
Every month they get a planner, a printable planner that I make for the month, and it has inside a not only like a real calendar and real weekly planner sheets, but they also get a reader planner each month to track their reader things because
Uh,
off Patreon they're also very active in reader groups,
oh yeah, yeah.
and they like to do reader challenges, so it's a way to keep that. So I mean, they get bookmarks every week that they can print. They get cozy mystery readers love cross stitching, and they love doing all the art. So they get every cross stitch pattern from every book that cover in a cross stitch that I have commissioned. They love it all. They just get it all. If I
It's
can make
incredible.
it and get it made, they're getting it.
Wow. Yeah, you are that's such a good I love the reading planner idea and giving something that makes it just easy to engage
Yeah,
with
they love
their rest of their reading life. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. And you've shared so much amazing insights here that I'm curious, like if I'm maybe just looking to start a subscription, what would just looking to build a community of my readers, right? Just kind of listening and being like, wow, I want to do this. What would be your advice to another author who's looking to get started on maybe a similar but their own version, obviously, of the path that you've done?
So I've had a lot of people that have done that. And I'll say, join my group and I'll refund you your money, but join it and look at it and see what I'm doing. And actually, the best way to get started so you're not overwhelmed is to just grab an empty calendar and put on there like things that you might think you want to share, like a character post, all the things again, like a lot of romance readers give as newsletter signups and things like that. A recipe, it's easy to make a recipe or to make one of your recipes into a recipe card as a download and see what you can come up with. And I would come up with like 31 topics and then say that you've put them on, a calendar of 31 days. Then the next month, do another character on that same day, and then do another recipe that same day. So rinse and repeat and do it the same day or do it, a couple days or 3 days. Well, another thing, going back to my niece that introduced me to this platform, she's like, I'm 26 now. And she's like, you do way more on Patreon than people do.
Yeah, yeah.
People so much content because I'm always looking at my kids because they're young, right? And I'm like, what do you think about the Patreon? Look at the Patreon. You're in Patreon. What is your people doing? And she's like, you give way more. Like, that is like really awesome, Antonia, that you're giving, all this content. And it's great. People love it. And so I always tell people, don't do what I do. I'm from the South. We feel like when you come in, we have got an Entenmann's cake waiting on the table for you, a pot of coffee. The door is open. Come on in. We're going to give it to you all. We're going to make you dinner. We're going to make you supper. We're going to do, if you're here at dinner time, which is noon to us, we're going to feed you. And then you're going to have supper that night. So, like, I just feel like if they're paying, I'm going to give it all to them, but you don't have to be like that. I mean, even the other cozy mystery authors that are on there now, they might post just once or twice a week, and they're not given all the things I give. Just start out really small, do a $5 tier. I would not suggest doing a $1 tier unless they're specifically going to do like what I do is like with the charity. It's really not worth their time if they're just going to have a bunch of people at $1. That's,
Yeah.
I wasn't in it for the money. The money just kind of followed it, which has been nice because we haven't talked about that. But, it's been nice because my husband early retired. He's 54 and he early retired at 35 years. So it's nice to have an income that actually takes over for his income, right? And so, but it was never that. So I always say to people, it's a slow build. And if you're a cozy mystery author, it's a really slow build because you have to be
Yeah.
patient, you have to be available to explain it. So I would say, just make a few content posts that readers in our genre or your genre love and make content because it's only content posts. It's not like it's nothing like Facebook. Like it's strictly deep dive content
Yeah.
stuff that's not in the books and it's exclusive, right? So somebody asked me this week that same question. She goes, "Oh, now is it like Facebook or do you just do all content?" And I said, "Oh, I do all content." And she goes, "Oh, well, I'm not there yet." And I'm like, oh, "Okay, well, then you're not ready." So, that's kind of the way I would say at least 3 days a week, certain content and something that can only get there maybe first. Like if you want to write your books, put up your chapters. Oh, I'm sorry. That is because I call it my magical shiny moment. And I do 3 or 4 of those a day to uh, remind me to be grateful. So I'm
Oh,
grateful that I'm here. So, anyway, sorry
we're
about
grateful you're here.
that. So, anyways, what happened is that I would tell them, look at your genre, see what content your readers would love that would be exclusive. So, like on Ream, people are putting out their chapters one at a time. That's special content they're getting before the books come out or whatever it is. For my readers, a lot of them are there to read the series of the holiday series before it comes out because that's at that $5 level. That's what
Yeah.
they're getting and that's what they want. So I would say something that's special to them and only post, 2 or 3 times a week, but make the tiers enough to where they feel like it's worth their time too.
Totally agree. That like a set of fantastic advice that I I fully agree with. And I'm curious, two last questions, which one is how long did it take? You said slow, like it's a slow build,
Mhm.
right? How like what was it like when you launched? Did you see tons of people flooding? Which for context, like obviously Tonia's done really well before starting Patreon's been doing this for a very long time. But even with that, what was that slow build like for you? And then now, what portion of your overall publishing income, publishing revenue comes from your Patreon?
Okay. That's a lot of questions. So we'll
We can take it
dissect.
one at a time. Yeah.
I was fairly surprised when I first did it the first day out. And another thing I would say to somebody, because this was a mistake, I'm like, oh, I'm going to start this. I started this thing, and here's the tiers, and then all of a sudden, 100 people join, and I'm like, but there's nothing there yet. It was crickets. Like I had nothing there for them to look at.
Mm,
So I would tell
yeah,
people to go in and put things up before you make it go live so they have something that they can start feasting on, right?
totally.
So that
Totally.
was a mistake. It's something I learned. So I was not, so then after that, that was the initial push. And I'm like, whoa, might have something here, right?
Yeah.
So then the more I talk to people like, are you kidding me? You're charging for extra content. You're charging for us to read about this. And, I kind of got a little bit of pushback. Since then, they've become Patreons. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. You stay right here on Facebook. It's not for everybody. And I recognize that. And I have said from the very beginning, it is only people who want direct access to me, who want to be super fans, who want all the things, right?
Yeah.
Like I have a secondary character that's a smoker. That's horrible, right? But who cares? They love these little candy. These are smoking lipsticks that they
Whoa.
get. They're little cigarette lipsticks and they love it. And so,
They're beautiful.
those are like the content. I'm like, oh, this is the kind of stuff you're going to get, when you come over, all these little tchotchke things that are hilarious to your favorite secondary character, right? And so, not just the gifts, and I'm not begging them to come over. It's just the community part is what I focus on. Come over for the community. We had the community in our group. I stopped the Facebook group because I was not going to um, I just felt like Facebook was, and again, that's why I left the group and deleted everybody in this thriving group because I didn't want to have a group in Facebook. If something went south and I got kicked off,
Yeah.
then I wanted a place where I know that I'm not going to get kicked off. And this is where
Yeah.
I'm at. And, if this was a fun ride over the last 10 years and you want to keep going, then let's head on over here and keep going. And I'll still be on Facebook and you can still reach me here, but not as available. So that is kind of what I've stuck to. And so the initial hit, and then as the years went on, because again, I started it during the pandemic when people were holding on to their money and kind of losing their jobs. But then as we've kind of climbed out of that, my readership or my Patreon membership over there, the community is what I call it, we call it the Southern Sleuths. So it has just grown exponentially, into the thousands. And I love that they're there. So as a form of income, the income is pretty good, but I also give away a lot.
Yeah.
And I ship a lot. And, I have $5 gift cards for everybody every month and, charities and things. So it's not about the money for
Yeah.
me. And a lot of people open up subscriptions to have the money. But it all feeds into my machine, right? And so
Right.
it's nice, but I still rely on my books to bring
Yeah.
in my income. So I would say outside of it's pretty up there with audiobooks. I would say so my book income, I would say about 70%. And so I would say like almost maybe it's a little bit more than audiobooks. So about 20% would come from Patreon and that's a pretty good, with
Yeah.
everything else I have my hands in.
That's
So
wow. That's really, really great to hear. And very, very interesting to hear on like the launching and then like learning that, oh, I should get something in there because you're right. Like the first impression is really important. And if there's nothing there, I bet you probably had a few people message you or they're like, what is this? Or what?
yeah, what's on? What are we doing over here? Oh, I'm like, what are we doing over here? Like what am I looking for? They knew they were getting the book in that top tier, but what about those other 3 tiers below? What am I getting? And I really only had the $1 tier, the $5 tier, and the $25 tier. And so I introduced the $10 tier this year to go in between. So I'm like, oh, that's a big leap to go from $5 to $25.
Yeah.
That's a big jump for me. So, that's when I created the $10 tier at the beginning of the year. But still that $25 tier always sells out the quickest. And every year I up it just a little bit more and a little bit more and add, because a lot of times they'll sell. I do keep a cap on a lot of them.
Yeah.
Was again the factor of, oh, I want to be part of this club. Why can't I get in this club? When are you going to open up this tier? I get a lot, but I can only handle so much.
Yeah. You're
So
one person, right? Well, you've got your husband and you've got but you yourself are one person. So
yeah,
yeah.
it's been a lot of fun and entertaining. And, we have seen it grow into its own thing. And so I love that. And so that's
Yeah.
another thing. Like I know that you guys do Ream, and I talked to Amelia about it at our mastermind. And the thought of like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I thought, oh, I could do both. And I mean, I got like that proactive. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, trying to get one person to move to another subscription would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So, I entertain it. You never know what I'll be doing.
It definitely is the actual migration when you have a big one is a lot of work. We typically when we work with authors with above 100 people, paid members, we do it for them and that helps a lot. But if it wasn't for that, if it was all on you, we're happy to help, but if we weren't helping, it would be very hard. Amelia had to do it herself.
Let's say, now this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but they've been amazing, and I'm truly honored that someone would even pay for my crazy things.
Well, no, I mean, I get the feeling, but also you have done so much for your readers and they deserve it, but you also deserve the love that you get in return because just after listening to you, I think it's something that It's funny you said like don't do what I do. I think a lot of people aren't able to do what you're doing because it's just so much in a beautiful way. But also I feel like you're something great for people to strive for because
Oh,
to
thank
be able to be that caring for your readers and be that focused on putting your readers first, I think is like what this is about. We are in publishing to create great stories
you.
for ourselves. We like love our stories, hopefully, but also for our readers. And that's what it all goes back to. And your community is incredible. And I would love, as our very, very final question, for you to share with us, where can we find your community? Where can we find you? Because I know if people are listening, they're probably like, I've got to check this out.
Well, I'm everywhere. I just go anywhere. I'm obviously on Patreon, and it's all under Tanya Kappas Books. I am on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. And my Facebook
Beautiful.
community is still very thriving. I have 41,000 followers there, and they, again, are older people, but I'm also seeing those younger kids. Like my kids are going back. They're kind of leaving the TikTok, and they're kind of leaving and they're kind of hanging out on the Facebook again. I'm like, what is this? And so, so I'm still there and also on my website. And then I put out a newsletter twice a week.
That's great. That's amazing. Well,
Sounds crazy when I say that. I'm like, oh,
it's a lot. Yeah. That's why I was like earlier, I was like, how do you do it all? Which I mean, discipline and being passionate are it's a beautiful combination, but definitely go to the links in the description, check out everything Tanya's doing. It's just, I'm so excited we got to talk with you. And so excited to get to meet you soon. So thank you so much for coming on.
I have to say, when you guys came out with your award show and nominated for this award, I told them and they just went crazy on there. They're like, wow. And so I'm like, oh, we're nominated, you guys. And I put that in a post. And so they were very excited. So you got them very excited. So we thank you. And thank you for what you're doing for authors. It's kind of a lonely world out there. And that authors really don't know that there's the service that we now have options to get off these social medias and meet readers that are eager to read more of your work and to find you and to connect with you on these platforms that haven't been there for us. And it's just a new amazing thing, and you and Amelia are bringing that to all the authors and shedding the light on that, and we thank you for that too.
Well, it's the dream. I'm so grateful to be able to do this. And if it wasn't for people like you who are actually doing it and doing incredible things, there would be no stories for us to talk about. So it's incredible to see what you've accomplished, and I hope it inspires y'all listening. Thank you again, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
Yes.